Netflix's once-hit series, The Witcher franchise, is going through a pretty tough time nowadays. Not only have they lost or actually ditched their lead, but they're also receiving poor reviews for Blood Origin, which was a highly anticipated spin-off release. Guess it's safe to say no one saw this rough patch coming. So what are the creators planning for the show now that they are so under fire? Let's find out. Stay tuned. First, let's talk about the tanking of Blood Origin. Set about 1200 years before the events of The Witcher, Blood Origin is based on the conjunction of the spheres and focuses on the supernatural clashing of worlds that ultimately led to the arrival of monsters, humans, and the very first Witcher on the continent. And while that may have been the story the show wanted to tell, what it delivered instead was a mess of disappointing plots and a broken script that can only be classified as shoddy. Honestly, we're not exaggerating. With a 35% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and 4.4 on IMDb, the whole thing is an insult to fan expectations. And trust us, everyone's making their disgust for the show known loud and clear. So what exactly is wrong with the series? And is it so unsalvageable that it's under fire from everyone, everywhere, all at once? Props if you got that reference. But let's go back to the topic. Now, why was the season such a disappointment? Trust us, guys, even the duration of 5 such videos won't be enough for us to answer this question, but we'll try. First of all, let's just say that the show could not have come at a worse time. It clashed with the news of Henry Cavill being dumped as Geralt, which made the show feel like salt to fan wounds who were already petitioning for Cavill's return. And just when they thought it couldn't get any worse, the spin-off everyone had been waiting for came out, and it was a mess. A show that was supposed to delve into the whole mythology and historic aspect of the franchise, focused instead on things entirely outside of that. Its plot about the conjunction of the spheres seems like an afterthought, according to reviews. So, like, the show's totally dismissive of the material they need to adapt to a story? Cool. Not. That's a disservice to the franchise and the fans too. How can a story about a universe's mythology be about anything but mythology? Well, Blood Origin creators can definitely answer better. All we know is that if they ever got to fixing the issues in the show, they may have to create a whole new one because this one is just bad. Want more details? Well, moving on, what differences did it have from the source material? Well, you're not going to believe it, but according to Kelly Luganbiel, The Witcher Blood Origin is only based on a few lines in the books. We told you that you won't believe it. So, while the show is based on lore, it doesn't really follow the story page to page. It is exactly the reason why fans hate the show so much. It doesn't have anything from the book that could make it an authentic spin-off. According to the creators, they wanted to understand what the world was like for the elves of the continent before the conjunction of the spheres. In the books, that isn't a part they focus mainly on. Instead, the elves are more of a subplot in the entire conjunction story. So what did the creators do? Instead of making the spheres the main plot, they brainstormed, thought of how the world would have been for the elves and what they would have wanted at the time, what their society was like pre-colonization, and created a show that is understandably very far from its source material. Sucks for the viewers because we bet no one was thinking of watching a show on colonialism and imperialism in the Witcher's world instead of a mythological epic about the different spheres that brought this universe to life. Not the most solid pitch for a show that's being called soulless and garbage on social media. But if you remove the entire main plot of the story and make it one about your own conceptualized drivel, soulless could probably be the least stingy insult you'd get, right? But hey, if you think that's the last of the issues with the show, you're wrong, because people hate the costumes and dialogue too. Embarrassing is the word people are using to describe the crazy dialogue in the show. Well, you would too if you had to watch a show with the craziest of obscenities included in the most random settings. Did people back in the day, even in mythological worlds like this one, use such coarse language as a way to express even their smallest thoughts? We'd hate to be a part of that world for sure, so we get why people hate the script so much. Then, there's the costume part of the problem. Okay, let's be clear. People need to understand that for costume designs to work, they actually need to be practical. You can't send a warrior off to fight without proper gear covering his arms, legs, and face. That's just not done. Too bad the writers and creators of this show didn't realize that, because the designs in the series are unbelievable, if not outright crazy and despicable. Honestly, you can quote this fan on that. They're literally saying the costume design was the main turnoff for them. Another said that Blood Origin looks like a fantasy series Facebook would create, which is probably a nod at how unrealistic the whole thing is. One fan even said that stills from the teaser look like costumes from The Walking Dead, and the latter is a modern dystopian show. Could the show be any less untrue to its roots? Even the last season of Game of Thrones had better reviews, and trust us, no one was happy with the way it turned out. Oh, and we still haven't covered everything fans had to say about this show. Coming up, everything else fans have to say. Blood Origin treats its viewers like idiots. Is anyone surprised the show turned out to be dumb? the show is a totally failed series. Need we say anything else? Fans, if you can even call the viewers fans, are calling the script weak, the characters boring, and logic a weak point in the entire thing. There are even comparisons to The Witcher, especially for choreographed fight scenes, where people are saying that the entire sequences are just sad to watch. Fans are literally saying they were gnashing their teeth while watching the show, which is not a good sign for a new series. Wait up, so what does it mean for Blood Origin's future? We don't see a super bright future, let us tell you that. With Henry out of the Witcher universe, fans are already unsure of whether they'll even continue watching the show or not. Of course, we're sure the show's viewership won't drop, but will it be the same? We don't know. And to add insult to injury, we have Blood Origin. The kind of feedback it's getting is just another sign that Netflix may have lost a good franchise early on, unless they decide to pick up the pace in the second season of the series, and if The Witcher lives up to its previous hype with Liam Hemsworth in the lead. But hey, we do have one more season with Henry Cavill left to watch, so there's still some solace to find, right? And speaking of the show, up next, what's coming up in The Witcher? Well, Henry Cavill, for the last time, and you may just get to see him for a longer time than usual this final season, for him at least, because this time the show is probably going to be divided into two parts instead of being released all in one go. Taking a page out of the Game of Thrones book then? Well, not really. The reason this is happening is actually because of the VFX challenges the show is being plagued with. According to the creators, the decision to split the season is not a done deal yet, but it may happen because how soon they can finish up post-production work is going to decide their release date. So obviously, if the delays become too much, they may just decide to break the season in two. Moving on, what is Season 3's release date? Hold your horses, it isn't being released anytime soon yet. According to the creators, there are still 8 or so months to go before the final season comes out, so they're trying their best to complete the entire thing before it's up to watch. But this isn't the first time a show's been divided into two for production purposes. In fact, it's become a pretty common occurrence at Netflix. You guys remember Stranger Things and Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, right? Maybe The Witcher has the same fate waiting for it. Oh well, more opportunities for us to watch Henry in action, right? And to be fair, the franchise really needs some more hype because Blood Origin really did leave it in dire need for some, didn't it? Whatever it is, the whole thing has really brought us fantasy fans to an impasse. So, as a bonus, we're giving a list of some other shows you can watch if you're too angry about Blood Origin basically just existing. Finally, the list of fantasy shows to replace Blood Origin. For one, there's Cursed. Based on Arthurian legends and myths, this show can have you hooked, especially with its crazy sword fights and a solid, all-powerful heroine. Then there's his Dark Materials that you should watch for James McAvoy, if nothing else. A dark Victorian adventure drama show. It'll pull you in with its aesthetics and keep you there for the plot.
Thousands of years. Asriel is bringing a great war.
Oh, and it doesn't have any stupid costume glitches, so you won't have an issue with that either. And if you want to go back to the past, you can pick Vikings, which just ended a couple of years back, or Xena Warrior Princess, which was a classic when it comes to fantasy television. And if you really want to test your nerves, go watch Game of Thrones to watch how fantasy television has a way of declining in quality when creators decide not to pay attention. But hey, at least its first season was a success. Too bad we can't say that for Blood Origin at all. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Blood Origin is worth the watch? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.